Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again with a brand new movie review, and today we'll be discussing a musical film by the name of Annette, which premiered last month at Cannes Film Festival and will be making its way to Amazon Prime on August 20th. Now, I got the opportunity to check it out courtesy of Amazon, and I am really excited to let you all know what I thought about this musical and let you know if it's worth checking out, all in this spoiler-free review. Before we break it all down, do me a favor and check me out on all my other social media accounts. If you all are new to the channel, well, welcome to the community. Consider subscribing to the channel, and while you all are at it, make sure you hit that notification bell. That way you can get the alert from when I drop new content. If you all enjoyed this spoiler-free review, well, make sure to like and share this video. It helps out the channel a lot, but also appreciate the support. And in the comment section below, let's talk about this film. Let me know if you were even excited for it, if you even heard of this film, if it was on your radar. And once you've seen Annette, whether it was in theaters on Amazon Prime on August 20th or beyond, let's talk about this film. Let's break it down together. Let me know what you think of the direction, the narrative and the story, the performances, the musical pieces. What was your favorite song of the entire soundtrack? What was your favorite set piece? And let's talk criticisms. Were you not impressed by this film? Did you not enjoy the narrative? Were you bored by this film? And since we're talking musicals, let's talk about your favorite. This doesn't have to be all-time movies, but let's talk in the last 5 to 7 years. What are your top 3 musicals? Let's discuss it in the comment section. So going into Annette, I avoided the trailer. I didn't read the synopsis. I knew it was a musical. That was all I knew. But also I knew that Adam Driver and Marion Cotillard were in this film, and I'm a big fan of their work. So going into this film, I'm not the musical guy. I will say that I appreciate a good musical. Now, to answer my own question, my favorite musicals in the last 5 to 7 years is easily La La Land, Sing Street, and most recently In the Heights. I appreciate a good musical, but I don't gravitate towards musicals. So what did I think about this musical? Starting off with my positives, I want to start with the production, because if I'm not mistaken, I want to say this had a production value of about $15 million, which surprised the hell out of me because I was completely floored by the set designs, the cinematography, and it was just one scene in particular. I'll just go straight to it without diving into where it is in the film, and it's actually on the poster. Seeing our two characters, Henry and Anne, on this cruise ship, the lighting, the score, the way that the water was clashing. I mean, the production in this film was flawless. This film feels more like a Broadway play, which isn't necessarily a good thing or a bad thing, but I just felt like I was watching a play at the highest production value possible. So I was absolutely floored by the color palette and just how they were able to bring these grandioso sets to life. So that's definitely a positive. I got to talk about some of the themes and not really dive into the story because I don't want to give too much away. But as far as what I took away from this narrative, which is actually a pretty straightforward narrative, surprisingly enough, because this is a very out there, bizarre, experimental film, to say the least, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But as far as the themes, you know, this story really does do a good job of talking about relationships, right? And how you can lose yourself in a relationship, and how you can sometimes fall so in love with someone that you don't really take the time to learn who they are. Do some research about their past, especially with these two characters being big celebrities and whatnot. So I found that to be intriguing. I found the themes of lust, greed, exploiting the youth, different things of that nature really kind of shine within this film. And I thought that those, and there's a lot of other things to kind of dissect, but I don't really want to give too many of the themes away, but those themes really kind of stood out to me and were handled pretty well, which brings me to the performances. Like I said, I was sold by just seeing Adam Driver and Marion Cotillard, and starting with Adam Driver, who plays Henry, who's a very famous comedian in this film. He has a really interesting comedic side of him. He is very cynical comedy beats, very dark comedy beats, but he has a crew and a crowd of people that love his work. And you're just seeing Henry as the film explores who this person is. And this film is really his character, especially in the second half, but just seeing him navigate who he is as a person, fall in love with Anne, jealousy of Anne and her blowing up more so than him. And then this isn't a spoiler, this is in the trailer I watched the trailer after I watched the film, and reading synopsis, they have a kid. So what does that mean for Henry? How does he has to rediscover who he is? Does he love this child? Does he love his lifestyle more than he loves his family? So just seeing all this stuff, and you learn more about his dark side and his past and some of the things he's done in the past. I was absolutely floored by Adam Driver. I thought that he was absolutely incredible, and there were some things that he was asked to do that he really pulled off. And I know Adam Driver has a background in Broadway, and I thought that he was such an asshole. He plays an asshole so well, right? Whether it be in Girls or obviously, the villain in Star Wars. He's a really you hate this character, and I mean that in a good way because I thought Adam Driver really brought out those sensibilities in this character. But going to his co-star, who is played beautifully by Marion Cotillard, who I had no idea was an actual singer in real life and has like literally her own singing career, and her voice is beautiful in this movie, which goes into her character Annette, who is the big opera singer in this film, and her career is definitely taken off in this film. And like I said, there's a little bit of jealousy and just seeing that dynamic and how she plays things out in this film. And I wish we would have explored more of her individually, and I'll talk about that a little bit later in my criticisms. But for what we get with Marion Cotillard, I thought that she was fantastic. So the production was great. The performances were there. The themes are really heavily strong and handled pretty well in this film. And speaking of the musical aspect, I thought, and comes from the Sparks, so I'm not too familiar with their music and whatnot, but I know they have like a cult following and a really popular brand. But I have to say, man, there were a couple songs, and I downloaded one in particular, as you all can see on the screen now. We Love Each Other So Much is a very catchy song, and when you see that song in the movie, it fits pretty perfectly in the scenes. And I'll just say this movie is not for kids. There are not one, but two very hot and steamy sex scenes with these two beautiful people in this film. And again, like I said, that was my favorite song in the entire movie. We Love Each Other. That's a really good song. So I definitely downloaded that and listened to it quite a few times after watching this movie. So we talk pros. We got to transition to my criticisms. I mentioned that this film is bonkers. It is kind of all over the place, and it's a pretty straight narrative for such a complex, such a, grandiose type of production, the film. My issue with this movie is the pacing, man. This movie is almost 2.5 hours, and I felt like there were just so many moments that were just like lingering on, this meandering through certain elements of the film that really don't explore what I was hoping this film would explore, which is this actual dynamic and this relationship between these two characters, Henry and Annette. We get the gist of the relationship. They're two big celebrities, and we see this story all the time, whether it be on E! News or you look at the People magazines, and this person's dating this person, they're having a baby, they're going on a yacht. It has all those basic foundations of a celebrity couple, but we don't dive into the minutia of what makes your relationship special. I really wish we would explore that, which brings me to Marion Cotillard, such a talented performer and gives a great performance, but she isn't in the film that much for me, especially in the second half, and there's reasons why. And for me personally, the second half is much more of a stronger narrative than the first half, because I think the first half was really where I felt like the film didn't have much of a footing. The second half is much more of a stronger narrative, but Marion Cotillard to me was really kind of underutilized in the narrative of telling her side of the story and really kind of exploring her characters. So that was kind of unfortunate. But again, going back to the pacing and the musical aspect, I found this film to be very generic in a sense, right? I thought the story was just kind of more of the same of what you've seen in a film that deals with a couple, that deals with jealousy, that deals with, just kind of disagreements and things of that nature. I thought it was I was so impressed by the production and how they put all the pieces to the production together, how it looked just so beautiful, but it was just such a simplified story. And trust me, you're going to hear people talk about this film and maybe call it a masterpiece and make it more complex what it is, but I just thought it was just kind of underwhelming and how we kind of unfold the story. I will say again, going back to that second half when we meet Anne part 2 or the baby, and that narrative was really strong, but it's so many points in this film that I was just kind of checked out. Okay, this is interesting. This is kind of getting boring. This is interesting. It was just so many peaks and valleys throughout this film. I just thought it was just kind of really inconsistent, which again speaks to this felt more like a play and like cut up in chapters versus a narrative, like a story, a movie that kind of gives you a first act, a second act. Again, there's those foundations in there, but I just thought it was just kind of clumsy in how this film was told. And I know from what I read about the director here, Leos Carax, he's a very experimental type of director, and I can appreciate experimental films, but at the same time, I like my films to be a little bit more structured. I feel like it was a little bit too chaotic, a little bit too bonkers, a little bit too all over the place for my personal taste. So before I give you all my overall thoughts and my score, if you haven't already, if you stuck around to this point in the video, make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and make sure you hit that notification bell. Overall, Annette is a film that is beautifully shot. Annette has two really great performances, especially from Adam Driver. It really does hit homes on his themes, but unfortunately, the pacing, the way that the story kind of unfolds, the underusing of particular characters, and just the length just felt like 2.5 hours, and it felt like it was just really poorly put together in regards to the editing and everything of that nature. But still, with all that being said, I cannot ignore the production and a great performance by Adam Driver. I'm going to give Annette a solid 3 out of 5, and I'm just going to say it right now. This movie is not for everyone. If you are a Broadway fan, a musical fan, or you're a fan of this director, you're probably going to love this film. It's probably going to be your favorite film of all time. But if you're someone like me that dabbles in musicals, that dabbles in Broadway, that isn't too familiar with this director, and again, I appreciate experimental movies, but not when it doesn't have a narrative that is more structured, because this film is kind of chaotic in its narrative, then it might not be the movie for you. So take that as you will. Again, it will be available on Amazon Prime August 20th. And if you took the chance to check it out, let's talk about it in the comments. Again, your highs, your lows, your pros, your cons, your thoughts on the performances, the themes, what was your favorite set piece, your favorite musical part of the film, and let's talk criticisms, and let's have a discussion about it in the comments. Again, I appreciate if you stuck around to end this video. Again, a friendly reminder to like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. That way you don't miss any of my other content. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Hope you're staying safe, and we'll see you on the next video.